Go ahead.
I'm going to make a statement about this before we vote on it. Well, I don't know if I, what's that?
Several of us are.
My opinion on this is that the council has made a decision on the planning and development, and this is an enactment of that decision. I don't see it as reconsidering the entire. I mean, we're not having a new presentation of the PUD. The PUD was approved by the council, and I think a yes vote on first reading of this ordinance is just to recognize that the council made the decision it did on the last meeting. I don't think it's a reasonable thing for us to try to reconsider that without reconsidering additional information, and that's not what we're doing here today. And so if I were to vote yes on this ordinance, it will be in recognition of the fact that the council has made a decision on this issue already.
Okay. Councilor Zanotti, Vice Mayor?
I would like to say that in reference to some of the comments that I've made before I would say that we've had the opportunity to vote on this 2 times, and both times I have voted for that map amendment. So in reference to comments that I've received emails about, I would like to say that I do have a personal preference for mixed uses. And having the ability to walk or bike to services is definitely my personal preference. However, there is a precedent and a theoretical and researched underpinning for infill projects which reduce municipal costs to citizens. And yes, we do represent citizens, but in the context of the entire city. Reduce municipal costs to citizens for providing infrastructure to developments on the edge of cities, reducing costs to citizens in driving to services at greater distances, and for increasing property values in central parts of cities, which are more often drained by flight from city centers. When I mentioned, when I was talking last time about the fence, I was talking about the fence. The height of the fence. I was not implying that pharmacies were dangerous places. Isolation is a dangerous thing. Isolating a piece of property in the middle of a neighborhood is dangerous to the entire neighborhood. I think integration of properties in neighborhoods, diversity in neighborhoods, and the ability to accept change is what makes neighborhoods sustainable and healthy. And I hope that probably does not assuage any feelings at all, but I feel better saying it out loud.
I think I also wanted to clarify, I received a lot of emails and actually spoke with residents within the 12th Street neighborhood. And growing up here, that was the neighborhood I trick-or-treated in. I had my best friend who lived on King Street, and my grandparents lived on Orchard Street. And I do believe in the integrity of keeping a neighborhood. What made this particular piece unique for me was the first time I voted no not to do it because of the original plan for that piece of property. As that evolved, we met with the developer and also had a chance to talk with the neighborhood, and the decision to try the PUD became a good transition in my mind because the pharmacy going there is a locally owned pharmacy that's been there for 75 years here in Stillwater, and due to pharmaceutical regulations is needing to change some of what they do in order to be successful, and they can't do it in their current location. And so for me it was about a already established and well-respected pharmacy going into that area, into the neighborhood, that I think would be a nice transition. It is an empty lot at this point. We aren't uprooting houses or anybody at this time. It does provide for me an opportunity to look at what's happening to the west and what's happening to the east. And honestly, if it was happening any farther to the west, my view would be completely different. I do believe in the integrity of a neighborhood, but I also agree with Vice Mayor Darlington in that we try and recognize the entire city of Stillwater and make decisions that are for long term. And so I feel confident that we're making the right decision on this one.
Anybody else?
And I'll just say very quickly that I echo just about exactly everything Councilor Zanotti said. I mean, there were several points of going into my decision for this. One, that this is an empty lot. There are no structures on the lot. We're not tearing down anybody's homes here. Two, the fact that a locally owned business that has been well established here for decades, we're not allowing a big box retail or some kind of large conglomerate to move in on this property. This is a business that has been owned locally for many, many years. And I would also echo the fact that Blakely Street for me is a fairly hard boundary. And if this were a discussion of anything further west of Blakely Street, then my answer would be very different than the way I plan to vote tonight. But for those reasons, that is why I plan to vote the way I do tonight. So.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion to move ordinance 3397 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 3397. Please vote. And with a vote of 5-0, the ordinance is approved. And I will just say that my yes vote is much like what Councilor Joyce said. This was already approved, and this was just part of the process. All right, reports from officers and boards. City Attorney,
Nothing to report, ma'am.
City Manager.
I do have 3 items I'd like to discuss, and they're some of the folks that might like to hear this are leaving the room. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of discussion, and the PUD, where the first read just was, and the original study area, there is some hard feelings about all of those things. And in terms of the 12th Street overlay and the original Conservancy District, some feeling on part of the neighborhood group that the city is blaming them for what occurred in terms of needing to go back and take a look at those texts and those kinds of things. At this point, I don't think that they're to blame. I think there's some things the city should have done different. We should have noticed the expanded area and had neighborhood meetings with them. But the unfortunate thing is that there was a lack of communication in all of that on both sides, and a lack of understanding. And hopefully, going forward, instead of rehashing what's occurred, they'll be able to take another look at that overlay district and make some decisions that would be positive for their neighborhoods. So that's item 1. Item 2 is that we have 2 new employees with the city that I would like to welcome. Jacob Marshall is a new lineman for the electric division, and Joshua Williams, a maintenance mechanic at Fleet. And that's something we would like to continue to do in the future, to welcome those new employees, because we certainly need employees to be able to provide services to our citizens. And finally, American Airlines has announced that it will offer a 3rd round-trip flight from Stillwater on Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays starting this June. Flight will arrive around 7:30 p.m. and leave Stillwater at 8:06 p.m. back to Dallas. The new summer flights are likely to fill up fast, so passengers are expected to purchase tickets well in advance. You can learn more about the Stillwater Regional Airport services at flystillwateroklahoma.com.
Thank you. Councilors, news?
Well, I have a long one, but it's about sales tax update. In February, the city of Stillwater's sales tax collections increased by 4.56% compared to collections from this time last year, and is up year-to-date by 1.62%. Those sales tax collections are from December 2017 transactions that were reported to the Oklahoma Tax Commission in January 2018. While the trend toward revenue stability is encouraging, citizens should remember that the budget didn't include allotment for capital expenditures, and this practice of deferring maintenance is unsustainable going forward into the fiscal year. For more budget information, please go to stillwater.org/budget.
Thank you, Councilor Zanotti. Vice Mayor?
Council members and some council members and city staff, some city staff, will be at the Senior Activity Center at 1015 East 12th Avenue, right near Couch Park, from 1:30 to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, March 14th. That's next Wednesday, March 14th, from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. In these office hours, residents can address council members individually, staff members, about any upcoming concerns or issues. Civic engagement is based on a relationship, and this is a good way to develop a relationship with city staff and councilors, and for city councilors to develop a relationship with citizens. So if you're unable to come to office hours, a nice, casual, informal place to speak, you may also email us, contact us in person, come to public hearings scheduled in April and May about the budget. So lots of opportunities to speak to us, but don't forget Wednesday the 14th, 1:30 to 3 at the Senior Center near Couch Park.
Councilor Joyce?
Well, I'm going to say a couple things before I get to my talking point. One is counselor office hours. Last time Elaine and I went, and there were only 3 or 4 people that came and talked to us, which would have been nice to have more. I'd love to engage more, but we did have folks that came in with specific questions and specific issues that they'd like to see changed that we were able to, with Manager McNichols' help, actually address. And they came and said, hey, guys, could you guys do this? And we said, yeah, actually we can. Thank you for letting us know that was an issue. So it is a real chance to come and let us know that there are issues that you're dealing with that you'd like to have somebody fix, and we may actually be able to do something about it while we're sitting there. So please come and talk to us about those. The other thing I wanted to say about sales tax collections in December being up almost 5% over last December, which is fantastic given that last December we had the train thing here, and we thought that was going to be great, and we lost it, and it went out of business or whatever. And this year, the Chamber and Visit Stillwater did a great job downtown in December, and we ended up higher than we were when we had the big train here, which I think is great. So thank you, Visit Stillwater and Chamber, for all the work you guys did. Okay, now I have something to read to you. The Water Resources Department is currently constructing the future Range Road Booster Pump Station on 19th Avenue. This past Tuesday, the pump station slab was completed as contractors continue to work on the water line down Range Road. The city's installing 2.5 miles of water line from the future Range Road station to the new 44th Street Tower. This project is one of many in the Water 2040 program to improve water distribution throughout Stillwater.
Thank you, Councilor Joyce. Councilor Wedlake?
All right, bringing it home. The city is seeking input on how to allocate federal funding it should receive for the benefit of people with low to moderate incomes. The first meeting is tomorrow, Tuesday, March 6th, from 3 to 5 p.m. in room 110 at the Stillwater Community Center. The second meeting will be at the same location the week following on Tuesday, March 13th. Residents can also email ideas or suggestions to Grants Coordinator Valerie Silvers by Tuesday, March 13th.
Okay, and I will end on this. This past weekend, I had the chance, along with Dr. Wedlake, to tour the Stillwater Cancer Center that's now open. And we heard something that I had never thought about before, so I'm going to put it out there. Oklahoma has a harder time with good cases of cancer. And please, Dr. Wedlake, you can...
I'm going to have to say something.
Yes. Go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what we heard there?
Okay. Cancer and all-cause cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer, lung cancer, et cetera, but all-cause cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States. That is true for Oklahoma as well. However, Oklahoma has a higher per capita rate of death from cancer than just about any other state in the union. Part of the reason for that is access to care. Oklahoma is a more rural state, And it is difficult for people to drive to places that offer the kinds of care that Stillwater is now able to provide. And so I think the Cancer Center here in Stillwater, even from just a geographic location, is a very important thing. Because Stillwater, being essentially located as it is, can provide a lower drive to people instead of having to go to Tulsa or Oklahoma City. And it's pretty exciting that we can provide that kind of care here in Stillwater now. So,
Yes, very impressive, and it's a beautiful place. So it was a pleasure to be able to see that we have this new facility that helps so many people. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the city council meeting. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the city council meeting is adjourned, and I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting. Trustees, does anyone wish to remove or clarify an item, or is there a motion to approve the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket?
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved.
And I just want Lauren Smith to know that I read those 2 items on the consent docket. Very
I did too, yeah.
All right, that takes us to reports from officers and boards. General counsel,
Nothing to report, ma'am.
general manager,
Nothing to report.
trustees.
Nothing to
No, ma'am.
report.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. The Stillwater Utilities Authority, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting is adjourned. And that moves us, I will call to order the Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting. And on the consent docket, trustees, is there a motion, or do you wish to clarify?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. That brings us to general orders. Mr. McNichol.
We have the Chamber of Commerce quarterly report that will be provided by Justin Minches, CEO of the Stillwater Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Norm. I don't know what's protocol if I'm allowed to approach the bench. It would be easier for you to pat the signal back around. Like a good
Is that
marketer,
like a sidebar?
I don't know what. I didn't get that in Finance 101 when I was in school there. So what we're passing around there is a conference that we're going to be hosting in the next few days. It's a partnership with the Riata Center, Meridian Technology, and the Chamber. And we're bringing an individual from town who's a serial entrepreneur and angel investor, and he's going to be speaking on a few different topics, and he's bringing in some speakers himself. Tomorrow is going to be out at CEC. They're graciously hosting us all day tomorrow. They're going to be talking a little bit about how to be an angel investor, if you're a startup company, how to accept seed capital. The next day is at Riata Center. We're kicking that day off with 1 million cups, which you all have heard me talk about 1 million cups. So that'll be the flagship event for the second day. And then on the follow-up, the final day on Thursday morning, the Spears School will be hosting us for a couple hours in the morning, most likely bragging about that beautiful building that they just constructed there. And then we get to have some lunch with some students, so I'm pretty excited to see what those conversations hold.
Who's speaking at 1 million cups this time?
So we left some good ones for this one, knowing that we had this one coming up. So Iron Monk will be there to talk about the manufacturing process, and then Mike Fox with RPX will be there to talk a little bit about the high-tech startup and what it's like to be in the incubator. To boil down, and I'm probably dumbing it down too much, but he writes software and code that helps balance things that spin, so propellers, helicopters, airplanes, that sort of thing. Did I do okay? Good.
Seems easy.
Thank you for dumbing that down.
Well, that's. I need things to like the lowest common denominator for me to understand, so that's how I can share them. So the customary recap that we give. So this is the first time that we've all been able to connect here in 2018. So some of the numbers I'll give you will be the quarter, Q4 of 17, which is halfway through the fiscal year for the city, but it wrapped up our calendar year in 2017. And so in 2017, we received 122 RFPs. We responded to 64 of those. We had 49 BREs, so business retention and expansion visits. So that's us speaking with local companies, helping them expand. And then the most important part, when you have those RFPs, you want to get them here to show off what we do. We had 4 site visits in 2017. 2 of those were presentations in Oklahoma City. The mayor helped us with 1 of those early in the year, and then 2 of those were actual site visits here in Stillwater. We could find that we had 1 in 2016, so 4 in 2017 was an improvement. And as of March 1st, we've already had 4 in 2018. So I know we're not talking about, this quarter, but I thought it'd be, I wanted to brag basically is what I wanted to do. So we've had 4 already in 2018, and hopefully some good news to follow on a couple of those as well. Our industrial park is a big project that we're embarking on, and I don't know if I've got a PDF on here where I could do the industrial park, the layout. No? Okay, no big deal. So you guys had it in the packet. Yep, that's it. So we'll be breaking ground in the next couple weeks. It's a $1.7 million project funded by the Chamber's assets. Graciously, it was Stillwater Industrial Foundation gifted us the land as well as the cash assets that made this possible. We're just trying to honor them by keeping the project going forward. So it's 65 acres total. You all zoned the 23-acre tract on Perkins and Airport to commercial general for us a few months back. Our idea is that will help support the park, filling stations, maybe some equipment rentals, that sort of deal. And then on the east side of the train track will be 42 acres roughly, and we're retaining 6 acres of the interior. If you see that road that we're building, the 6 acres will be, our thought process anyway is to help local companies expand coming out of the incubator, coming from tech transfer, or just general manufacturers that need to be landing in industrial general. We've already had conversations with 3 companies of that smaller tract, 3 local companies looking to expand. At various stages of the conversations, 2 of those are very eager, and if I could ink paper, probably tomorrow they would buy it. So I'm trying to get the paper as drawn up as fast as I can. And on the commercial side, we've had conversations with 1 local company as well that might look to expand. So we're really excited about that project. There's some strategic meetings on there that we talked about, meeting with some site selectors. We had a German delegation. It's a European International Trade Association came through. They were doing a Wichita, Tulsa, Oklahoma City tour. But thanks to our friends at ASCO wanting to relocate in Stillwater, we're now on the map for some of those European delegations as they make their aerospace tour. And so we were able to do a couple hours with Bruce Tift giving an overview of what they do locally, why they chose Stillwater, and their potential plans to expand in the future. So it was really cool. A lot of it was high-level engineering, layout, and tech stuff that was way over my head, so they didn't dumb down that meeting for me. I wish they would have. But they were very engaged, and I think Bruce appreciated showing off his space as well. And then just a couple of miscellaneous events that I'll highlight before, if you have any questions. We talked about 1 million cups. I encourage all of you to come to 1 million cups if it fits into your schedule. As we said, this week it'll be part of the tech tour. We're averaging somewhere around 50 to 60 attendees. The front room at the Riata Center is standing room only, so it's really cool. And then the winter events. I mean, you almost teed that one up for me, Will, there. We were excited. The city, or the chamber, we donated $25,000 of our assets to the Winter Wonderland project. We think that that had to play some role in the increased sales tax, and so we're excited to do it again. Hopefully, well, Christie will like that we're submitting it to our board in our March meeting to see what they want to do for next year so we can start to plan early and see where we can build that out. At the very minimum, we're going to help fundraise a little bit for her as well. So that's all I have. I wanted to make it quick.
Questions? I think these look great, and I love that it says unconference.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And good luck with this, and I'm so happy that you're bringing it to Stillwater.
Justin Hazard deserves all the credit. He's put in some hours putting that thing together. And it is come and go. That's why it's the unconference. So you have those scheduled there. If you want to come to 1 or 2, don't feel like you have to check in at 8 and leave at 5.
Well, great job. Thank
Thank
you.
you. I appreciate y'all.
Okay, that brings us to reports from officers and boards. General Counsel.
Request an executive session pursuant to 25 OS subsection 307 C10 for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property, financing, or the creation of proposal to entice a business to locate within the city of Stillwater, because public disclosure of the matter to be discussed would interfere with the development of products and services and would violate the confidentiality of the business.
right. General Manager,
No items, ma'am.
trustees. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
Motion to move to executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move into executive session. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, we are now moving into executive session.
But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
When your power goes out, the city of Stillwater doesn't want you to be left in the dark.